She walked out with his boss, spitting venom. "You're a jobless loser, Jake." Divorce papers hit the floor as their daughter sobbed. Unbeknownst to her, Jake had just landed a $50 million deal. 5 years later, she's back, begging for forgiveness. What happens next will flip everything you know about love, betrayal, and comeback. The sun spilled through the kitchen window of a Coral Gables bungalow, casting a warm glow over Jake Morales as he flipped pancakes onto a plate. His 5-year-old daughter, Sophia, squealed with delight, her tiny hands clapping at the sight of the golden circles. "Daddy, they're like little suns!" she chirped, bouncing in her chair. Jake grinned, sliding the plate in front of her, the sizzle of the griddle still humming in the background. His wife, Camila, poured orange juice, her movements smooth and practiced, a quiet hum escaping her lips. The morning felt like a snapshot of their life, simple, steady, and full of small joys. Jake, 35, was an architect at one of Miami's top firms, known for his knack for turning bold ideas into blueprints that shaped the city's skyline. He adjusted his tie, grabbed his leather briefcase, and planted a kiss on Sophia's forehead. "Be good at school, kiddo," he said, ruffling her curls. Camila caught his eye, offering a soft smile that held the warmth of their 7 years together. "Knock him dead at work," she said, handing him a travel mug of coffee. Jake nodded, oblivious to the fault lines forming beneath their routine. That evening, the couple attended a gala hosted by Jake's boss, Victor Reyes, at a sleek Miami Beach venue. The event buzzed with real estate tycoons, city officials, and architects, all mingling under the pulse of live jazz. Jake, in his element, chatted with colleagues about a waterfront project he'd been pouring his heart into. Camila, standing beside him, drew glances with her effortless poise. Victor, a towering figure with a reputation for bending people to his will, approached them with a glass of bourbon in hand. His handshake with Camila lingered, his voice smooth as he said, "So, you're the one keeping Jake grounded. Impressive, given this cutthroat business." Camila laughed, brushing off the compliment. "Just trying to keep up with Miami's chaos," she replied, her tone light but confident. Victor's eyes held hers a beat too long, his smile sharp. "Takes a strong woman to thrive in this world. Jake's lucky." Jake chuckled, missing the undercurrent in Victor's words, and steered the conversation back to work. He didn't notice Camila's glance flicker back to Victor, or the business card Victor slipped her as they parted ways, his fingers brushing hers. Days later, Camila's phone buzzed with a text from Victor. "Lunch tomorrow? Need your take on Miami's growth areas. You've got a sharp eye." She hesitated, then agreed, telling herself it was professional. The lunch at a South Beach restaurant was anything but. Victor leaned in, his charisma filling the space as he praised her ambition. "Jake's talented, but he plays it safe," he said, swirling a glass of Pinot Noir. You're meant for bigger things than a quiet life in the suburbs." His words landed like a spark, igniting a restlessness Camila hadn't acknowledged before. Jake, meanwhile, was buried in work, refining designs for the waterfront project that could redefine his career. He stayed late at the office, sketching under fluorescent lights, unaware that Camila's lunches with Victor were becoming a habit. She started coming home later, her excuses seamless. "Client ran long." Or, "Traffic was brutal." Jake believed her, his trust unshaken. He'd bring home takeout from their favorite Cuban spot, joking with Sophia about her day while Camila's absence became a quiet norm. Victor, however, was already plotting. He needed Jake out of the picture, not just for Camila, but to claim credit for the waterfront project Jake had spearheaded. Whispers began circulating in the firm. Jake's designs were stale. His approach outdated. Colleagues who once sought his input now avoided his desk. One humid afternoon, Victor summoned Jake to his corner office. "We're restructuring," Victor said, his tone flat. "Your position's been cut." Jake's stomach dropped. "Cut? The firm's swimming in contracts, my project alone." Victor waved a hand, cutting him off. "Decisions are made. Clean out your desk." Jake left the office in a daze, escorted by security, his colleagues' eyes darting away. The drive home blurred as questions swirled. How would he tell Camila? What about Sophia? At home, Camila was waiting, her arms crossed. "So, you're jobless now?" she asked, her voice edged with disdain. Jake tried to explain, his words stumbling. I'll find something. Maybe start my own firm. Camila scoffed, her laugh biting. Your own firm? With what, Jake? We'll lose everything. Her words cut deeper than Victor's dismissal, and for the first time, Jake saw a stranger in her eyes. That night, Sophia climbed into Jake's lap, sensing the tension. Is Mommy mad? She whispered. Jake hugged her tight, his throat burning. She's just tired, kiddo. We're gonna be okay. But as Camila grabbed her purse and left for another meeting, Jake's world tilted. He didn't know that Victor's promises of a glittering life were already pulling Camila away, or that the man he trusted was orchestrating his downfall. All he knew was the weight of Sophia's small hand in his, and the fight he needed to keep his family whole. Jake Morales woke to the sound of Sophia's crayons scratching on paper, her small figure hunched over the kitchen table in their Coral Gables home. The morning after his firing felt raw, like a wound still bleeding. He poured cereal for Sophia, forcing a smile as she chattered about her school art project. Can we show Mommy my drawing? She asked, holding up a picture of 3 stick figures under a bright sun. Jake's chest tightened. Camila hadn't come home until past midnight, her excuse about a client dinner flimsier than ever. Sure, kiddo, he said, his voice steady for her sake. We'll show her tonight. Camila breathed in later, her phone buzzing as she tossed her keys on the counter. Jake tried to talk, hoping to bridge the growing distance. I've got leads on some freelance gigs, he said, leaning against the counter. We'll bounce back. Camila barely looked up from her screen. Freelance? That's not a plan, Jake. We need stability, not dreams. Her tone was sharp, slicing through his optimism. Before he could respond, she grabbed her purse and left again, claiming another work emergency. Unbeknownst to Jake, Camila's lunches with Victor Reyes had escalated into clandestine evenings at his South Beach penthouse. Victor showered her with gifts, a sleek watch, a pair of sapphire earrings, each one a quiet promise of a life beyond their modest home. You're wasting your spark in that house, Victor told her one night, pouring champagne as the city lights glittered below. I can open doors Jake never could. Camila sipped, her resolve weakening. She started lying effortlessly, telling Jake she was closing deals when she was slipping into Victor's world of excess. At the same time, Victor tightened his grip on Jake's professional ruin. He spread word through Miami's tight-knit real estate circle that Jake was unreliable, his designs behind the times. Calls to Jake's industry contacts went unanswered. Headhunters politely declined. Each rejection stung, but Jake refused to crumble. He spent evenings at the library, researching new projects and sketching ideas for a sustainable Miami waterfront development he'd pitched before his firing. Sophia, sensing his stress, would curl up beside him, her picture books a quiet comfort. One humid evening, Camila came home late, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Jake was at the table, laptop open, surrounded by notes. We need to talk, he said, his voice calm but firm. You're barely here, Camila. Sophia's asking for you. She rolled her eyes, tossing her bag down. I'm working, Jake. Someone has to keep us afloat. Her words were a blade, but worse was yet to come. The next day, Victor called Jake into a downtown cafe, not the office. I'm giving you a chance to resign quietly, Victor said, sliding an envelope across the table. Take it, or I'll make sure no firm in this city touches you. Jake's blood ran cold. Why are you doing this? He asked, his fists clenched. Victor leaned back, smirking. Business isn't personal. You're just not cutting it. Jake walked away, the envelope unopened, his mind racing. That night, Camila's demeanor shifted from cold to cruel. She threw a stack of papers on the table, divorce documents. I'm done, Jake, she said, her voice venomous. Victor's building something real. You're just nothing. Sophia, woken by the shouting, ran in, tears streaming. Mommy, don't go! She cried, clutching Camila's leg. Camila pulled away, her face unyielding. You're his now, she told Sophia, then walked out, leaving Jake to catch his sobbing daughter. The days that followed were a blur of pain. Jake sold the Coral Gables house, unable to afford it without Camila's income. He and Sophia moved to a small Hialeah apartment, its walls bare but clean. Jake turned the cramped living room into a workspace, his drafting table squeezed beside Sophia's toy bin. He promised her, "This is temporary, kiddo. We're building something new." Sophia nodded, trusting him, her small hand squeezing his. Amid the chaos, a glimmer of hope arrived. Jake's phone rang as he tucked Sophia into bed. "Mr. Morales, this is Carla Diaz from the Miami Development Board," the voice said. "Your waterfront proposal caught our eye. Can you meet us tomorrow?" Jake's heart raced. He'd submitted that plan months ago, before Victor's betrayal. "Yes, absolutely," he replied, gripping the phone. The meeting was set for noon at their downtown office. As he hung up, Jake looked at Sophia, now asleep, her face peaceful. He whispered, "We're not done yet." The next day, Jake walked into the boardroom, his briefcase holding the plans he'd poured his soul into. The board members listened intently as he outlined his vision, a sustainable, community-focused waterfront that could transform Miami's skyline. Their nods gave him hope, but he kept his expectations grounded. As he left, Carla stopped him. "Your ideas are bold, Jake. We'll be in touch soon." He nodded, daring to believe in a future he could build for Sophia. Back at the apartment, Jake worked late, refining his designs by lamplight. Sophia's teacher, Elena Torres, dropped by with a container of homemade empanadas. "Sophia said you've been skipping dinner," she said, her smile kind. Jake thanked her, touched by her thoughtfulness. Elena lingered, asking about his work, her presence a quiet balm to his fractured world. As she left, Jake felt a spark of something new, connection, maybe hope, though he pushed it aside. His focus was Sophia and the faint chance that his waterfront dream could change their lives. Meanwhile, Camila was swept deeper into Victor's orbit. She attended exclusive parties, her social media filled with yacht trips and rooftop cocktails. But cracks were forming. Victor's charm came with control, he dictated her schedule, her words, her world. When she hinted at a future together, he deflected, saying, "Let's not rush." Camila ignored the unease, clinging to the luxury, unaware that Victor's promises were as hollow as the life she'd chosen over her family. Jake Morales sat at his makeshift desk in the Hialeah apartment, the hum of a ceiling fan blending with Sophia's soft snores from the next room. His laptop screen glowed with the final tweaks to his waterfront proposal, a project he'd clung to like a lifeline since his world imploded. The Miami Development Board's call had sparked hope, but weeks had passed without a follow-up. Each day, Jake scoured job boards, sent emails to old contacts, and faced silence, Victor's smear campaign still choking his prospects. Yet he refused to let despair win. He sketched relentlessly, pouring his vision for a vibrant, eco-friendly Miami into every line, determined to prove he was more than the failure Camila had branded him. Sophia, now settling into kindergarten, became his anchor. Her drawings covered the fridge, bright scribbles of beaches and palm trees, always with 2 stick figures labeled, "Me plus Daddy." Jake made her breakfast each morning, braiding her hair with clumsy fingers before dropping her at school. Her teacher, Elena Torres, noticed the strain in his eyes but also his quiet strength. One afternoon, she handed him a coffee as he picked Sophia up. "You're doing right by her," Elena said, her voice warm. "She talks about you like you're a superhero." Jake managed a tired smile, grateful for her kindness but too focused to dwell on it. Meanwhile, Camila sank deeper into Victor's gilded trap. His South Beach penthouse was a whirlwind of late-night parties and power plays, where she played the role of his dazzling companion. Victor's gifts escalated, a sleek sports car, VIP passes to exclusive clubs, but so did his control. He'd snap if she spoke to other men, dismiss her opinions in front of his elite circle. "Stick to looking good, Camila," he'd say with a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. She brushed off the unease, telling herself this was the life she'd craved, even as Victor dodged her questions about commitment with vague promises. Back in Hialeah, Jake's persistence paid off. His phone buzzed one humid morning as he walked Sophia to school. "Mr. Morales, Carla Diaz, Miami Development Board," the voice said. "Your waterfront proposal is shortlisted. We need you to present it to the full committee tomorrow, 10 a.m. Jake's pulse raced. "I'll be there," he said, gripping Sophia's hand a little tighter. That night he rehearsed his pitch, his voice echoing in the small apartment. Sophia, curled up on the couch, clapped when he finished. "You're gonna win, Daddy," she said, her faith unshakable. The next day, Jake stood before a packed boardroom in downtown Miami, his blueprints spread across the table. He spoke with conviction, detailing how his design balanced sustainability with community impact, affordable housing, green spaces, and a revitalized waterfront. The committee leaned in, asking sharp questions he answered with precision. As he wrapped up, Carla nodded approvingly. "We'll have a decision by end of week," she said. Jake left the room, his heart pounding with cautious hope, unaware that his life was about to shift. That same evening, Camilla's world began to crack. At a rooftop gala, Victor introduced her to a group of investors, but his tone was off, distant, almost dismissive. When she pressed him later about their future, he laughed coldly. "Future? Let's not get ahead of ourselves." Her stomach churned, but she stayed silent, clinging to the lifestyle she traded her family for. Back at the penthouse, she found a woman's scarf on the couch, not hers. Victor shrugged it off, but the seed of doubt took root. By Friday, Jake's phone rang again. Carla's voice was crisp with excitement. "Congratulations, Mr. Morales. Your proposal won. The $50 million contract is yours." Jake froze, the words sinking in. He'd done it. Against all odds, he'd secured the biggest project of his career. He thanked Carla, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, then scooped Sophia up from the floor where she was coloring. "We're gonna be okay, kiddo," he said, spinning her around. Her laughter filled the apartment, a sound that drowned out months of pain. With the contract in hand, Jake wasted no time. He rented a small office in Wynwood, hired a lean team of designers, and launched Morales Designs. The waterfront project drew attention fast, with local blogs buzzing about his innovative approach. Clients began calling, intrigued by the architect who'd risen from obscurity. Jake worked late, fueled by coffee and determination, but always made time for Sophia, reading her bedtime stories, tucking her in with the promise that things were getting better. Elena became a steady presence. She'd stop by with books for Sophia or a quick chat about her day, her warmth cutting through Jake's guarded heart. One evening, as they watched Sophia play at a park, Elena nudged him. "You're building something amazing, Jake. Not just for Miami, but for her." He looked at her, seeing not just kindness but a quiet strength that mirrored his own. "Thanks, Elena," he said, the words carrying more weight than he intended. Camila, meanwhile, felt the walls closing in. Victor's late nights grew frequent, his excuses flimsier. She overheard a call with his lawyer mentioning family trust and a wife she'd never heard of. Confronting him, she got only a smirk. "You knew the deal, Camila. Don't make this messy." Panic set in. She'd burn every bridge for a man who saw her as disposable. Her social media posts, once brimming with glamour, now felt hollow, a mask for her growing dread. Jake's triumph was still a secret, known only to his small circle. He didn't gloat or seek revenge. His focus was Sophia and the future. But as his firm's name began appearing in industry circles, whispers reached Victor. At a cocktail event, a colleague mentioned Jake's waterfront deal. Victor's jaw tightened, but he waved it off, unwilling to believe the man he'd crushed could rise so fast. Camila, standing nearby, caught the comment. Her heart sank, a mix of regret and fear stirring as she realized Jake wasn't the broken man she'd left behind. Jake Morales stood in his Wynwood office, a modest space now humming with purpose. Blueprints lined the walls, each one a testament to his $50 million waterfront project that was reshaping Miami's skyline. His firm, Morales Designs, was gaining traction. Clients called daily, drawn to his reputation for innovative, community-driven architecture. At 35, Jake had clawed his way back from ruin, but his focus remained on Sophia, now 6, who colored quietly in the corner during after-school visits. "Daddy, can we build a castle next?" she asked, waving a crayon. Jake laughed, kneeling beside her. "Maybe a whole city, kiddo." Elena Torres, Sophia's kindergarten teacher, had become a constant in their lives. She'd drop off worksheets or join them for pizza nights, her easy laughter filling the gaps left by months of hardship. One evening, as they walked Sophia home from a school play, Jake hesitated, then spoke. "Elena, you've been there for us through everything. Would you, maybe, Grab dinner with me? Just us? Her eyes lit up and she nodded. I'd like that, Jake. Their first date, at a quiet Cuban diner, sparked long conversations about dreams, family, and second chances. Jake felt a warmth he hadn't known since before Camila's betrayal. Across town, Camila's world was unraveling. Victor Reyes's South Beach penthouse, once her escape, now felt like a cage. His charm had curdled into indifference. He'd cancel plans last minute, leaving her waiting at upscale bars. The gifts stopped, replaced by curt instructions to stay out of the way. One night she overheard him on the phone, laughing about a family reunion in New York. Her heart sank. She confronted him, voice shaking. Family? Victor, you said you were single? He shrugged, unbothered. You assumed what you wanted. My wife's coming back. You need to leave by tomorrow. Camila's shock turned to fury, but Victor's cold stare silenced her. The next day, a woman arrived, Victor's wife, Laura, flanked by their 2 kids. Laura's gaze was steel as Camila stammered excuses. Asked him where he's been the past year. Camila blurted, desperate. Laura didn't flinch. I know exactly who you are, she said, then turned to Victor. We're done. Within hours, security escorted Camila out, her belongings stuffed into a single bag. Victor didn't spare her a glance. By week's end, Laura, the true heir to the family's wealth, stripped Victor of his stake in their empire, leaving him scrambling. Camila landed in a cheap motel in Dade County, her savings drained, her social circle vanished. Her phone, once flooded with party invites, was silent. Late at night, she scrolled through news articles, landing on a feature about Jake's waterfront project. The headline, Local Architect Redefines Miami, was paired with a photo of Jake at a groundbreaking ceremony, Sophia beaming beside him. Camila's stomach twisted. The man she'd called a loser was now a rising star. Regret gnawed at her, but so did desperation. She needed a way out. Jake, meanwhile, was building more than skyscrapers. His bond with Elena deepened. She joined him and Sophia for weekend outings to the beach, where Sophia taught her how to build sandcastles. One afternoon, Elena handed Jake a drawing Sophia had made at school, 3 stick figures labeled, Daddy me, Elena. Jake's throat tightened. She loves you, he said softly. Elena smiled, touching his hand. I love her too. And I'm starting to love this. Their relationship grew quietly, rooted in trust and shared moments, a stark contrast to the chaos Camila had chased. Morales Designs expanded, moving to a larger office in Brickell. Jake hired more staff, his projects earning awards and drawing investors. Yet he stayed grounded, driving Sophia to school each morning, never missing her soccer games. Elena often joined them, cheering from the sidelines. One evening, as they ate ice cream after a match, Sophia asked, Is Elena gonna stay with us forever? Jake glanced at Elena, who blushed. We'll see, kiddo, he said, but the hope in his voice was clear. Camila, now scraping by with temp jobs, couldn't ignore Jake's success. She saw his name on billboards, heard colleagues whisper about his firm. Swallowing her pride, she drove to his Brickell office, her hands trembling as she rehearsed her plea. The receptionist, recognizing her from old photos, buzzed Jake. Someone's here to see you, she said. Jake paused, sensing who it was. Send her up, he replied, his tone calm but firm. As Camila stepped into his office, the weight of her choices hung heavy. She was no longer the confident woman who'd walked away. She was a shadow, seeking salvation from the man she'd destroyed. Jake leaned back in his chair, his gaze steady. What do you want, Camila? He asked, his voice devoid of anger but carrying the weight of their past. She fidgeted, her words spilling out. I messed up, Jake. Victor lied, threw me out. I see now, you're the real deal. I want to fix things for Sophia. Jake's jaw tightened at Sophia's name. He stood, walking to the window overlooking Miami's shimmering skyline, a city he was helping shape. You left her, he said quietly. You don't get to walk back in now. Camila's eyes welled up, but Jake's resolve held. He pressed the intercom. Security, please show Ms. Reyes out. As guards approached, Camila's pleas grew frantic. Jake, please, for us. But the door closed behind her, her voice fading down the hall. Jake turned back to his work, his heart steady. He had Sophia, Elena, and a future he'd built from nothing. Camilla's return was a ripple, not a wave, in the life he'd reclaimed. Jake Morales stood on the balcony of his new home on Key Biscayne, the ocean breeze carrying the sound of Sophia's laughter from the backyard. Now 9, she chased fireflies with Elena, their voices mingling with the crash of waves. Morales Designs had transformed Miami's skyline, its waterfront project a beacon of innovation that earned Jake a feature in national architecture journals. His firm's Brickell headquarters buzzed with projects, from community centers to high-rises, each one a step toward a legacy for Sophia. At 38, Jake had rebuilt his life, not with vengeance, but with purpose. Elena, now his wife, was the cornerstone of their world. Their wedding, a small gathering on a quiet beach, had been filled with Sophia's giggles as she scattered flower petals. Elena's presence was steady, her support unwavering, whether helping Sophia with homework or brainstorming with Jake over late-night sketches. One evening, as they grilled dinner in their backyard, Sophia ran up, holding a school essay titled, "My Hero." "It's about you, Daddy," she said, hugging him. Jake read her words, about his strength, his refusal to give up, and felt a lump in his throat. Elena squeezed his hand, her smile saying everything words couldn't. Across town, Camilla's life had spiraled into ruin. After her desperate plea at Jake's office, she'd found no refuge. Victor Reyes, stripped of his wealth by his wife's legal maneuvering, was a pariah in Miami's elite circles. His firm crumbled under lawsuits, his name synonymous with scandal. Camilla, cast out from his world, worked odd jobs, waitressing, cleaning houses, her once vibrant social media now dormant. Late at night, in a cramped studio apartment, she'd scroll through articles about Jake's triumphs, each headline a reminder of her choices. Friends she'd once dazzled now ignored her calls, leaving her isolated, haunted by the family she'd abandoned. Jake, meanwhile, focused on the present. His days were full, leading design meetings, mentoring young architects, and coaching Sophia's soccer team. Elena joined him at community events, where they unveiled parks and affordable housing projects tied to his firm's mission. One afternoon, at a ribbon cutting for a new waterfront plaza, a reporter asked Jake about his journey. "I hit rock bottom," he said, his voice steady. "But I had my daughter and a reason to keep going. That's what matters." Sophia, standing nearby, beamed, clutching Elena's hand. Camilla's final attempt to reconnect came unexpectedly. She mailed a letter to Jake's office, her handwriting shaky. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," it read. "I see now what I lost, Sophia, you everything. I'm trying to be better, but I need to know she's okay." Jake read it in silence, then set it aside. He didn't reply. Sophia was thriving, her laughter, her confidence, her trust in him and Elena were proof of that. Camilla's regret couldn't undo the past, and Jake had no room for her in their future. Victor's downfall reached its peak when a local paper exposed his shady deals, linking him to failed projects and unpaid contractors. He left Miami, his reputation in tatters, chasing rumors of a comeback in another city. Camilla, too, faded from view, moving north to start over, her name absent from the circles she once craved. Jake heard whispers of her struggles but felt no satisfaction, only closure. His life was full, not because of their failures, but because of the family and purpose he'd built. One sunny Saturday, Jake took Sophia and Elena to the waterfront plaza his firm had designed. Families strolled the walkways, kids played in the splash fountains, and vendors sold empanadas under palm trees. Sophia ran ahead, pointing at a plaque with Jake's name. "That's you, Daddy!" she shouted. Elena wrapped an arm around him, her voice soft. "You did this. All of it." Jake nodded, watching Sophia chase a butterfly. "We did it," he corrected, pulling her close. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the plaza, Jake reflected on the years since Camilla's betrayal. He'd been called a failure, left with nothing but a box of belongings and a broken heart. Now, he stood as a symbol of resilience, his work shaping Miami's future, his home filled with love. Sophia would grow up knowing her father as a man who chose integrity over bitterness, who built a legacy not for revenge, but for her. The pain of the past was a faint echo, drowned out by the life he'd created with Elena and Sophia, A life where trust, not betrayal, defined their story. The question lingered, did Camila deserve a second chance? Jake didn't think so, not for them. She'd made her choice, and he'd made his, to move forward, to protect Sophia, to love again. As he watched his daughter laugh under the Miami sky, Jake knew he'd found something stronger than regret, a family that endured.